time is the only thing where we're constantly taking withdrawals when we have no idea what our balance is. If you're comfortable, you're basically dying, right? If you're uncomfortable, you're growing. But I have the discipline to get it done. And that's a huge difference, right? Motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you growing.
You're listening to the Limitless Leadership Podcast, the podcast designed to help automotive repair shops learn how to lead, coach, train, and manage their team better by sharing proven techniques and thought-provoking interviews from industry leaders. Are you ready to transform your leadership skills by tapping into unrecognized potential to achieve limitless results? Let's get ready for liftoff. It's time to go from great to greater. Here's today's episode.
All right, leaders, whether you're running a shop, leading a team, or leveling up in your career, you know details matter. And if you're like me, that includes keeping your beard on point. That's why I trust the Bearded Brotherhood. Their beard oils, beard balms, and mustache waxes, among other, are made with all natural ingredients, no junk, no shortcuts, just top-tier quality that keeps my beard looking sharp and feeling great. And let's talk scents. Whether it's their best-selling Woodsman or my personal favorite, Lone Stranger, the Bearded Brotherhood keeps me smelling fresh and my beard stays soft all day. If you take your beard game seriously, this is the stuff that you need. And because you're part of the Limitless Leadership podcast family, I've got a deal for you. Just visit thebeardedbrotherhood.co/lead15 to grab your favorite products and get 15% off in the process. Because a great leader deserves a great beard. Now, back to today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Limitless Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Parnell. And before we get started with today's episode, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things you need to on social media to help this channel, this podcast, reach people and build leaders. If you're listening to this episode, be sure to go to YouTube at The Bearded Leader and hit subscribe there as well. But our mission is to reach people and build leaders. And speaking of leaders, I'm joined by another great leader in the industry today. I'm joined by a friend of mine. He is the Director of Sales and Business Development for Repair Shop of Tomorrow. Our guest, my friend, is Mr. Jaron Kleber. Jaron, thanks for being here, man.
Hey, Josh, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Listen to the show. I really like the wide array of guests you have and the content that you're sharing. And like we were talking about, kind of off air just a few minutes ago, I'm a firm believer in that this industry has the ability to help a lot of people. And I think you're doing a great job by getting your message out here and getting guys like myself on your podcast to talk a little bit more about leadership.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, man. That truly means a lot to me, Jaron. And man, I'm really thrilled for you to be here. I'm excited for our audience too, because I know you're doing some amazing things. I know you are personally just an amazing human being, but what you're doing in the industry is also great. And so I'll go ahead and begin by asking you to share what that is, who you are, what you do, and how you do it.
Yeah. So, I've been in the industry quite a while. I've got, believe it or not, this is my 26th year in the automotive industry. And
okay.
So when I do a lot of presentations and when I tell people that, Josh, they're always like, well, man, did you start when you were 10? I said, well, actually I started when I was 12. So, my parents actually owned Napa Auto Parts stores.
Okay.
And so when I was 12 years old, I started working in the automotive industry, doing all the fun stuff, cleaning the floors, stocking parts. If anybody's ever worked for their parents, the struggle sometime that is. My father at the time, was very hard on me as an employee, as a 12-year-old kid. And, if you would have told me 26 years later, I would still be in the automotive industry, I would tell you you're probably crazy. Because at the time, I didn't think he was a very good leader. But now, of course, looking back on it, my father is probably the greatest leader that I've ever had the opportunity to work with. And he instilled a lot of the practices, the work ethic, and my relentlessness to continue to grow as an individual, as a father, as a husband, as a business owner. And I don't think I would be there without him. And so I'll give my dad a plug there, and I'll make sure to share this with him so
that's amazing.
He can feel the love. But so started there. I actually went to college. Then I started working for Napa Auto Parts. Right out of college, I was in their executive training program. Spent 13 years for corporate Napa. And then in 2022, I had the privilege of joining Repair Shop of Tomorrow. And it's been a great 3.5 years. For those that don't know who we are, so we're a business coaching and marketing company that works specifically in the automotive space. And we're a little unique to the fact that we're actually Napa Auto Care's endorsed business coaching partner. And so we've had that relationship with Napa since 2021. It's an honor to be a part of that network. In my opinion, the Napa Auto Care brand is one of the strongest brands in the automotive aftermarket. Mm-hmm. And for us to be able to align with them, I think, shows the credibility and really the trust that they have in us to work specifically with their shop owners on all things, obviously processes, training of their staff, reviewing their financials, and what really I think makes us unique that some of our other, people in this space aren't doing is we actually help them manage all their marketing efforts too. So when you look at from a business coaching standpoint, we're really trying to manage pretty much everything for them, Josh. So we want to give them that financial training. We want to give them that stability, that leadership, help them with their staff. But then we also want to make sure that we're able to bring them the right type of client, the right type of customer into their facility more often so that they can continue to see that progress and continue to grow their business.
Jaron, if I'm a Napa facility who is looking for coaching and getting business coaching from you guys, could I expect a different coach for a business purpose versus a marketing purpose, or does my coach handle all of the above?
So that's a great question. So all of our coaches, Josh, are actually, besides two of them, are actually still existing Napa Auto Care owners.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which again, I think is very, I think that gives us a lot of credibility. They were technicians turned shop owners who got coaching themselves along the way. And now their sole mission is, their facilities are profitable enough, they're productive enough where they've stepped away and they have key people managing them. And now their whole goal is to give back to the industry that's given them so much. And so the coach is singular. So, we pair up. I've been told that I'm kind of like the matchmaker. I don't know if I like that term or not, but I do a lot of our initial evaluations and consultations with prospective clients. And then knowing their business, I try to pair them with a coach that I know kind of fits where they're at, whether it's size, whether it's the technology they're using. And so they're their key point on everything. Now, we do have our own internal marketing team, which they're the ones that are putting the promotions and things together. But for the most part, everything we want to funnel comes directly through their coach.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, excellent. Well, Jaron, thanks for sharing that. I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier because you talked about what it was like for you to start as a 12-year-old working for your parents. And I know those listening, we've all heard this or maybe even experienced this where we are working for our parents and we are next in line. We're second or third generation shop owners. And I'm going to ask you to share what advice would you give to someone who right now is on the verge of transitioning from employee to employer as their family member, probably their parent, but some family member is about to pass them the keys to the kingdom, for lack of better terms. What advice would you give to that person as they get into ownership?
That's a great question. I would say make sure you get the education early.
Okay.
And, whether that's, signing up and working with a business coach or whether that's listening to podcasts like yourself, other podcasts that we have in the industry, just because you're working in the business doesn't necessarily mean you understand how to work on the business, be a leader and do the things that you need to do to take your team and your business to the next level.
Yeah.
And so I think, I guess I can go back and say, I'll turn it into, again, my father. And I would say probably every parent that has children, if you tell your kids to do something, a lot of times we just don't do it. And if somebody from outside, let's say a coach, I'll use my son as an example. My son's 7, and he's wrestling. And so, I can tell him, hey, here's how you shoot, here's how you shoot a double leg. Here's what I need you to do. And he'll kind of listen. But then when Coach Joey tells him the exact same thing, it's like the light bulb goes off, and all of a sudden he's like, I get it now. So, don't be afraid to get the education and get it early. I don't know. And maybe you can speak to this too. I feel like when people look sometimes for a business coach, whether it's like you with leadership, whether it's us more process, financial, KPI driven, I think people feel like they need to get to a point first and then they bring in the coach. And I'm a big sports guy. And so I always use the sports analogy. So, there's a reason those teams that win multiple championships are successful. It's because they have the coach that helps put the right pieces into place and get them there.
That's it.
They don't become a champion and then say, hey, I'm the best at this, and now I want to go get a coach.
Man, I mean, Jaron, you're speaking a lot of our language. And when I say our, just in general, we often don't take action because we're not yet motivated. We don't yet feel ready. We feel like we got to wait until everything's perfect and pretty before we take action. But what happens is, this, when we take action, motivation and confidence actually tend to follow. And multiple minds are better than one. And so much like you are the matchmaker at your organization, as a coach, how important it is to be asking a lot of questions of prospective clients. And I'll share with all my clients, like, even if this might be the first time I'm just having a discovery call with someone, I also ask, hey, who else are you interviewing? Because I highly recommend that you go and talk to someone else. Ultimately, I know that there is so many shops out there, and the money will come. Like, ultimately, it's not about the money for me. It's about making an impact. And if I'm not the right fit, I'm going to recommend them to a Jaron Kleber instead. I'm going to recommend them to fill in the blank, whoever that is. Right. But ultimately, if this individual is spending money, that's an investment that they're making. I want to make sure that they're getting their return on investment. And if it's not me, it might be somebody else. And so asking the right questions, I think, is incredibly important. I want to piggyback on something you said too, which I started laughing at because you use the analogy with your son. And so my wife and I have 4 kids, ages 14, 13, 12, and 9. So anyone who's listening, we need all the advice we can get. We need all the help we can get because we're in the thick of it right now. But what's funny is I can relate to that. I'm sharing certain things with my kids and they're hearing it from me till I'm blue in the face. And then they go to school and they come back and say it. I'm like, I've been telling you that for months. And what's interesting is, as a leadership coach in this industry, the bulk of my clients are actually service managers. It's people in the shop, working in the shop, who are formerly leading people, because I like to share with shop owners, I'm going to give you the gift of time and money so it's my responsibility to grow and develop your team's leadership skills on your behalf. But I can't tell you how many times I'll have a connection call with one of the shop owners. I'm working with their team, multiple team members from across their organization. And then, that shop owner will say something along the lines of, so-and-so came to me and said that you told him to do X, Y, or Z, or that you suggested this or that. And he's like, I've been telling him this for years. And you get on one call with him and all of a sudden he's doing it. And I'm like, man, that's literally like being a parent. So it's funny that you say that, because I think we can all relate to exactly what you're sharing.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, I lived it because I was guilty of it. I worked for, like I said, my father, and, even to this day, we have business conversations that, they sold their stores and he has other businesses and things like that. And, we'll talk a lot about business and automotive, stuff in general. And even to this day, sometimes he'll say something to me and I'll be like, yeah, I don't know about that. And then one of my business partners will say something and I'll be like, yeah, no, that makes sense. We should do that. So, it's interesting. And I think, you mentioning something too, that I'm going to piggyback off of that I talk about, that I think is one of our core values is, time and money. And, I think, obviously money is a necessity. We all need it. We know, now more than ever that, everything costs more money and we need money and we want to provide. But I always just kind of look at money as like, money to me is like a tool. It allows us to provide experiences for our family. It allows us to, provide experiences for our team and our staff. But to me, and what I try to tell everybody is the most important currency that we have is our time.
That's so good, man.
And, I read this somewhere and I share it all the time. And I know it's a little deep, but time is the only thing where we're constantly taking withdrawals when we have no idea what our balance is.
That's strong, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And I'll say that in a room full of people bright and early in the morning, and they're all kind of looking at me and I'm like, I know it's a little deep, but that's what's important, so when you talk about, developing leaders and you talk about getting the education to help you grow your business, making money, Josh, this might sound arrogant, but I think you'd probably agree with me. Like making money's kind of the easy thing. What's really hard is how do I get back that life, or how do I achieve that life that I want? And how do I not spend 60, 70, 80 hours a week just married to this business? And, for us at Repair Shop Tomorrow, it all comes down to processes. And I mean, people, processes, profit. Look, I'm using your motto there, but it's true. We have to train our people. We have to have our processes. And I firmly believe that, your processes don't fail you. It's typically your people that fail you.
And I'm so appreciative of the fact that you just shared what you did, because, and this is also why I, as a leadership coach, will probably always have a job. I mean, it's like we all know how important leadership is, and it's not even just in this industry. Just in general, we are pretty good at identifying the performance side of things and the KPIs and the sales and how to make sales, and we're going to do what we do. We're going to do what we need to do to make the sale. But ultimately, if we know that connection is what creates engagement, and engagement is what increases performance, it starts with the people. It is the people plus the process, then the profit. And so, you and I are definitely on the same page. I want to go back again to, your experience as a young child in a shop with your parents. Now speak to the current shop owner who is employing their child, maybe a young teenager right now, who might one day be the owner of this location that you've built and cultivated. Speak to that shop owner, that parent. What advice would you give that person, having lived on the other shoes?
Man, good questions. That's I would say, first and foremost, I don't think it's ever too early to start having those discussions, whether it's a family member or whether it's a key employee in the business. Ultimately, the end goal at some point should be either to succession plan, to sell your business, retire, have the life you want. So the first thing I would say is it's never too early to have those conversations. And I think it's also really important to, if we're going back to the parent, child analogy, I think it's really important to sit down and see if this is actually something that they want to pursue, or do they feel like that they have to pursue it because it's mom's business, and they don't, they want to continue the family legacy, because business entrepreneurship, ownership, it's not for everybody, as you well know. And so I would say, having those conversations early, and then bringing them in to the business. If you're utilizing a business coach, let them sit in on the call.
Yeah, that's good.
Let them understand, like, this is what's going on. Get them out to different industry events, expose them to the different trainings, the podcasts, the platforms. And at the end of the day, ultimately let them make their decision. I think a lot of people feel, if they're in a family owned business, that like, well, this is just what I'm destined to do.
Yeah.
And I have to continue to carry on this legacy. Well, if your heart's not really in it, you're really kind of doing your family a disservice if you, raise your hand and say, okay, I'm going to take this business over. So, having the conversations, including them in on the education, the training that you're getting, and then really helping them kind of chart their own path.
Jaron, that level of exposure and transparency, I'm glad you shared this because it's something I haven't personally thought too much in depth before. And you got me jogging my own memory thinking about, there are clients that I currently work with where they have young children who are just starting to get into the business and, not even at that really true working age yet, but they're hanging out, especially during the summer months. Like they're hanging out, seeing what mom and dad do on a regular basis. And thank you for sharing that, because that's an invitation for me to offer to my clients, just to start planting that seed and potentially watering the grass. I like that you followed up by saying, this may not be their final destination. This may not be what they really want to do, but at the very least, give them that exposure and help them make up their own mind or decision as we go. That's a form of leadership I think a lot of people could really benefit from. I'll ask you straight up, what does leadership mean to you? How would you answer that question?
So that's another great question. So for me, leadership really, it's about the ability to inspire others, and the ability to lead a team towards a shared vision or a goal. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think every shop owner that I've ever worked with wants the best for their team. They want the best for their staff. They want the best for their clients. But unfortunately, a lot of them, they don't know how to lead and they don't know how to get there. And then all of a sudden that leads to maybe high turnover. That leads to a poor customer experience, whatever the case may be. I personally, mm-hmm. and I'm sure you're in the same boat, I personally don't know any shop owners, business owners that don't want to be a better leader or don't want to take care of their team.
Yeah, you're right.
But, for me, it's about putting the right butts in the seat. And yes. as a leader, sometimes you have to look and say, I didn't put this person in the right spot. And they didn't fail because of themselves. They failed because I didn't do my job, in our industry, right?
Yeah.
A technician might not be the best service advisor.
That's right. Yeah.
And so just because he's been our longest or she's been our longest tenured employee and they want a path to growth, we put them in that seat. But do we give them the tools? Did we really let them get the education and be successful? And did we put them in the right spot? And so as a leader, you have to look in the mirror a lot and say, this one's on me. We didn't achieve what we wanted to, but this one's on me. And then of course, other times you can give everybody all the tools, mm-hmm. you can put them in the right spot. But if they don't share that vision and that goal that you share, then unfortunately, they might not be a fit for your organization.
That's a strong level of self-reflection I think every leader should possess, at least try to possess. And really, it's a level of accountability too. And that word in this industry is hit or miss. And when it's a miss, it is a miss. And I like the fact that you're bringing up accountability. Something that I'll say this, Jaron, something I see in you, man, and this, I even coach what I call the 5 areas of life that we can level up in. And so that's spiritually, physically, emotionally, academically, and financially. And I let everyone know that I work with, look, I'm not an expert in any of these 5 things, but I am trying to be mindful of these 5 things because I know that when I focus on sharpening my axe and leveling up spiritually, physically, emotionally, academically, and financially, not only does the rest of my professional life fall into place, but my home life falls into place. My relationship with my wife or my children are better because I'm mindful of these areas. I'm not letting any major area of my life fall to the wayside. And I'm not saying it's not often pretty. It's never perfect, but I'm mindful of it. And I see you doing the same thing. Now, you and I are still getting to know each other, but just through social media, through meeting you, I think I met you at Vision earlier this year. But what I see, if anyone's listening, tune in and watch this episode. Jaron works out. Jaron is jacked. All right. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Physically, you level up. I've got to assume, especially as a coach, you know how important it is to be mindful of the other areas in your life. Talk to the audience about what you do personally that affects you professionally on leveling up certain areas of your life.
Well, I appreciate the Jack comment there. That'll get.
That just made your day, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, man. Look, we could end the episode now. But I appreciate you bringing that up, though, because really, again, we talked a little bit financially. Of course, we know that. But for me, I'm going to hit on the physical and I'm going to hit on the spiritual and what it does for my life. So, for me, physically, it's part of my daily routine. Okay. And so, my alarm goes off early in the morning, and I stick to my routine. I'm a big process guy, just like our shops and your business need processes. I think we need them in our life, and then they bleed over into our businesses. And so I get up early in the morning, I splash the cold water on my face. I haven't went all the way to the cold plunge yet. So I don't have the cold plunge, but I do that. I brush my teeth. This kind of dives into spiritually. I read some scripture and then I go to the gym, and that time is my time in the morning to really make sure that I have the best day possible.
That's good.
And again, it's totally different for everybody else. I'm not telling you from a physical standpoint, you got to go and you got to work out and, be in the gym for an hour and a half every single day. But for me, like, that sets the tone for the rest of my day. And it's really kind of the hardest thing I have to do every day. There's nobody there that's going to do it for me. You can either lift the weight like Josh, or you can't. And so, I'm starting my day with something very challenging. It's uncomfortable. Our pastor actually at church this week said, if you're comfortable, you're basically dying, right? If you're uncomfortable, you're growing. And I love that analogy. So that, I know, works for me. When I'm dialed in and that's how I start my day, I've got good energy, I've got a positive attitude, and I'm relentless at what I do. But for whatever reason, if I don't do that, now I'm tired, I'm aggravated, I'm unmotivated, and it really leads me to have, I would say, like a bad, unproductive day.
You're tying into the fact that, you mentioned leveling up physically and then spiritually, but one of the ones I also mentioned was leveling up emotionally. And you and I are very much the same, Jaron, because what I'm hearing you say is, like, not only are you going to the gym for the physical benefits, but you're also going for the mental, for the, like, just to clear your mind, to set the tone, set the pace, set the foundation. I like that you highlighted the fact that you're doing the hard things first. Like, there's a great book, and it's primarily for time management, by Brian Tracy, Eat That Frog. And he talks about, if you had to eat a live frog on any given day, you can rest assured that's the worst thing you're gonna have to do that day. So get it out the way first. Like, just eat the frog first. So every morning when you go to the gym, think about, I'm eating that frog right now. Because here's the thing. No one really likes to lift heavy weights above their head. You like the benefit, you like the result, but if you loved it so much, you'd be on this podcast doing dumbbell presses, right? I mean, it's like, no one likes lifting weights, but they like the results. And when you can do the hard things and get comfortable being uncomfortable, because you know that growth and comfort can't coexist, that's when real growth happens. And we can't change without growth. We can't grow without change, rather. And it might be vice versa. But ultimately, you're changing because of the uncomfortableness that you're experiencing.
Yeah, and I get this question all the time, and I'm sure you've heard this, and I try not to. I try to keep that routine, even if I'm traveling. Just like you, I'm traveling all over the country. This is the first week I'm home in 6 weeks. But when I'm on the road, I seek out a place where I can make sure my routine stays how I need it to stay.
Yeah.
And everybody talks about, like, man, I wish I had your motivation to do this. And I'm like, BS. Like, there's days when I'm zero motivation, but I have the discipline to get it done. And that's a huge difference, right? Motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you growing.
Love that.
And that's, again, like, that might not be what it is for you. Maybe it's just waking up and it's reading and it's taking a walk, or it's having breakfast with your wife. Like, whatever it is that, like, puts you in that positive mindset before you start your day. I just always encourage people to find whatever it is that does that for you, and then make it a part of your routine. Just like your business, you've got your processes in place. I think it's equally as important to have our processes here, with your own life. I don't want to, go down the preaching,
Jaron, I'll say this, man. This is a faith-based podcast. Go ahead and bring it, my friend. Come on.
Well, I appreciate that. So, spiritually, I'll just be fully transparent with everybody. Like you said, I'm a real person. What you see is what you get. Over the last couple years, faith has become really important for our family. It's important. It's become important for me. It's helped me become a better father, a better parent, and ultimately, it's helped me become a better leader. And I think when you're looking for things, when you're looking towards something, or you're looking for things, like they kind of find you. And I'm always amazed. We go to a church on Sunday, and I'm always amazed. Like our pastor, when he speaks, it's like I'm always able to find something that resonates with me. And it's wild how many times it's business based. So like this weekend, literally, our pastor was talking about how he used to be a whitewater rafting guide before he was a preacher in Tennessee. And he was talking about the importance of putting effort in, to your relationship with your faith, with your family, with your business. And he used the whitewater rafting example, how it all starts in the front and works its way back. And immediately, just because I'm that person, I'm like, I can use that in my coaching. I can use that in my coaching presentations. I can use an analogy. If we drift outside of the current and we get left or we get right, well, guess what? Now we're crashing.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's really important that the whole team is literally rowing the boat in the right direction and staying on path, so that we make it down this rapid and we don't, we don't crash and we don't drown in the river. And so same thing with the business. So, again, I appreciate you letting me share that. Like I said, it's something that, I've always been like, we don't talk religion, we don't talk politics with business, but it's been kind of eye-opening the last 12 months as I've gotten a little bit more spiritual driven, that now all of a sudden I'm running into all these prospective clients who are also spiritual driven.
Yeah. And
we have kind of the same mindset. So I don't know if that's by chance or if that's by fate or whatever, but
it can't just be coincidence. I'll say that. And what I believe is that God puts people in our life who are actually depending on us to fulfill our own purpose for our life that can benefit them, and vice versa. And I appreciate you sharing this, Jaron, because it's really a good reminder that God is always showing up for us. He's always listening to us. He's always talking to us. He's always communicating to us. But are we listening? How often are we listening? Like, you go to church and right now you're getting something every single time. When we have clients that show up on our calls, the hope is that they're getting something every single time, but it's because they're willing to get vulnerable, to let their guard down essentially, and be open to what is really being shared. And even when I left my corporate job a little over 2 years ago, jumped into this terrifying world of entrepreneurship. And I remember feeling like God was calling me out for a while, and I kept fighting it. I kept saying, no, that doesn't make sense. And I remember having this thought like, well, okay, God, if that's what you want me to do, show me, and then I'll trust you. And finally, it flipped in me where he was saying, no, Josh, trust me, and I'll show you.
Yeah.
And when that happened, that's really when, fully stepped out of the boat and jumped into this thing. And so far, so good. But everything you shared, I appreciate what you did, and it's very necessary. So again, man, you don't need to apologize about preaching. Come here and throw down.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's what you said about trust me and I'll show you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's spot on. That's spot on. So, we use that a lot, right? When we're talking to our clients, it's like, you got to trust us.
Yeah. Good point.
You got to trust this process.
Yeah.
I can tell you what's going to happen, but if you're not willing to go all in, if you're not willing to put your trust in me and Repair Shop of Tomorrow to help you get there, then those results aren't going to be what you want them to be. So,
very good.
Well, what are you going to do for me? You get that question, or how can you help me? It's like, well, I don't really know anything about you yet. So like, let's dive into this a little bit more before we have those conversations. But,
Sure.
no, man, that's good stuff. This is all good stuff.
So if you are listening and you're thinking, well, how can Repair Shop of Tomorrow help me? Go ahead and share with the audience, what's the best way to get in touch with you or Repair Shop of Tomorrow and see if you guys are a right fit for each other.
Yeah. So like I mentioned earlier, and we talked a little bit about this offline, Napa Auto Care, we are their endorsed business coaching company. I have no shame saying that if you're a Napa Auto Care Center and you're looking for a business coach, there's no better fit than Repair Shop of Tomorrow. All of our coaches live the life. We utilize all the other programs that are available to you as an Auto Care member. So lots of ways to get a hold of me. You can, contact me directly. I'm on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can find me there. Of course, www.repairshopoftomorrow.com. And I've been called out on this before and I've been told I'm crazy, but I share my number out loud here. So
come on, bring it.
Yeah. So if you want to call me directly or text me, it's area code 618-334-8489. And in the line of work that we're in, Josh, like unfortunately, when our phone rings, we typically answer it. So we get a lot of spam calls.
You're right.
So don't worry. If I see it ring, if I can't get to you, I'll make sure to get back with you.
Good. You can also find Jaron in the gym. The last question for you, Jaron, is what is the greatest advice you've ever received from a coach or a mentor?
So I'm going to just quickly say one of the earliest mentors, I talked about my father, but one of the most influential mentors I've had in my professional career is someone that Bill Tiernan, and I'll make sure
Bill.
I share this with him. But Bill, I won't say it was like a certain phrase or anything, but I was young and I was aggressive, and I thought I kind of knew how to go about the job I was doing at the time. And Bill really instilled in me the importance of listening and asking the right questions, and then taking that information and then being able to address those specific needs or those specific challenges of whoever it was that we were dealing with. So, he's taught me. I learned a lot from Bill. One of the things that he made sure that I understood was that he would say, you can't smoke it all the way to the filter, right? Like you have to be able to trust others. You have to be able to empower your staff and your team members around you. Mm-hmm. Because if you're just the guy that's trying to do it all, then ultimately, you're going to stress yourself out. You're going to fail. So shout out to Bill. He's my brother for life. And I could talk about a lot of stuff there with Bill and how he helped shape my career professionally. Last thing I'll say on that is it was really cool. It was a full circle moment. I was able to teach at Vision in 2023, I think it was. I had a couple hundred people in my class. I was doing a service advisor class, and Bill was in the front table in the front row, supporting me. And afterwards, he might not agree with this, but afterwards he came up. He told me how proud of me he was, and I think he had a little tear in his eye. So, but yeah, he was definitely one of many leaders that helped me get to where I am today.
Bill is an incredible individual, good friend of mine as well, mutual friend of ours. And man, thank you for sharing that. That's what a great way to cap this episode. Jaron, man, thanks for being here. This will not be your last time on the Limitless Leadership podcast.
All right, brother. I appreciate you, and keep doing what you're doing. You're making an impact.
Thank you. Appreciate you, man. And thank you everyone for listening. Have a great day, everyone. Don't forget to smile today. Tell your loved ones how much they mean to you. I'm Josh Parnell, reminding you to keep leading well.